Hi, I'm Heather from Rental Property University. Today's question from the internet is, what type of property should I buy first? I just want to make the right first move. Great question, understandable, very common question. There are several pathways. There are. And part of this discovery of figuring this out, sometimes the client, the individual, the buyer, figures it out. By the way, I'm a real estate broker, so when I use the terminology client, that's why I say that. I'm also a rental property investor myself, and I've been in this business 23 years, going on 24. And it's all I've ever done full time. It's my only career I've ever had, and I've always done it full time. And so when I say client, that's what I'm referring to. But a lot of times the client, sometimes they come with an idea of what they want. And sometimes they come with that idea because of the market they live in, grew up in, are familiar with, understand. And sometimes they come to us like open-minded to say, what do you think I could get in this market? Here's my budget and my timeline and my ability. And then we will craft what we call the buy box criteria. The buy box criteria, this isn't a term we came up with. I actually learned about this term in 2012 when I helped a hedge fund buy hundreds of rental properties in several major markets in the state of Texas. But they use the buy box criteria. That's how I learned it, but it's an industry term. And what it means is you have a clear what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy. And new investors don't know what that is a lot of times because they're just trying to gather pieces of information and take information from videos like this, which isn't specific to them and their needs. It's more of a general, broad, this is kind of how to think of it. But sometimes when we have the client that comes to us and they're open-minded, well, I wouldn't call it open-minded. I would say when they come to us knowing they've hired us as a professional real estate firm, a real estate brokerage, to help them buy rental property, help them transact rental property, help them get their rental property business set up. They've hired us to do that. They've hired us to help connect them with all of our partnerships, property managers, tax attorneys, insurance agents, lenders, inspectors. Some of those are in the normal real estate transaction world. Some of them are not, like the business side of things, which is what this is, a business. And so, when they show up, saying, I know I want to do this. I've already done all the research and I've made the decision. I just need a team to help me execute on building my business, building my rental property business. And in all honesty, they don't always say that. I guess I'm kind of projecting what I want them to say, but honestly, they don't show up saying my rental property business a lot of times. I will fill that in for them because that's what this is. A lot of people don't fully understand, and you're not just buying a property, you're building a business. That's what makes this investment vertical so unique, so opportunistic, so advantageous. The property is just a part of the whole thing. It's one piece of the bigger picture, because when you have an active, properly structured business, which is what this is and can be, should be, that unlocks opportunity to you to help you reduce your number one expense. Do you know what that is? Your number one expense. What do you think your number one expense is? What do you think it is? Your mortgage. If you're divorced, maybe alimony. Your student loans or your children's student loans. No, none of that. Your number one expense is your income tax. That is an expense. It's not treated like that. Most people don't consider it an expense, but it absolutely positively is, and it is your number one expense for almost everyone. It just is. So this business can help unlock opportunity to that. But let me back up a little bit to the property type. So I'm trying to paint a bigger picture for you so you don't get too caught up on the nuance of this particular question, because this particular question holds back a lot of 101, 102, 103 investors because they're scared they're going to get it wrong. You're not going to get it wrong. You're not going to get it wrong. You're not going to get it wrong. It's going to be okay, because this is all about building a business. This is all about building a business. And even if you just buy the one property, it's okay. You're still not going to get it wrong. And there's a lot within this decision because you see, there's a lot of property types to choose from. And let me just read a few. So this is my book. This is the final edit in this form. We haven't published it yet. It'll be a little bit, this in a few weeks, a month, that we'll publish. But this is in the first part of Becoming an Elephant. Okay. And I wrote out all of the property types. Let me just read this to you real quick so you can get an idea for how much property types we have here. So there are even investment vertices within investment vertices. For example, is it vertice or vertical? Oh, I don't know. I guess I should fix that. Okay, for example, in the whole overarching category of real estate investing, there are two subcategories called residential and commercial. Beyond this, there are even more subcategory niche pathways to choose from. You will read about some of these asset types in the Elephant case studies to follow. Residential and commercial investment property type niche verticals are single-family homes, condos, townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, manufactured homes, new construction, micro homes, mobile homes, rental property, flips, wholesales, co-sell, BRRRR, apartment leasing, property management, subject to seller financing. And then in the commercial real estate asset classes and subcategories are generally more expensive, more professional, more advanced, take longer, and therefore by default are more specialized. The main areas of commercial real estate include small apartment buildings. There's no exact number here, but let's say, well, it's always going to be 5 units or more because residential financing can be 1 to 4 units. So single family, townhome, condo, duplex, triplex, quadruplex, sometimes mobile homes, sometimes land with some acreage. I mean, a house or a property with some acreage. But once you get into 5 units or more, that's commercial financing. So 4 and lower, residential financing, 5 and higher, commercial financing. So small apartment buildings, essentially 5 units or more, could be 30 units, 40, 50, 100, 200. Large apartment buildings. So again, sometimes it's a thing. Vendors don't work on small apartment buildings that work on large apartment buildings. Residential people don't work on large apartment buildings, but sometimes they'll work on small apartment buildings. So even though it's just called apartment buildings, I kind of break it down because it has a lot of different nuances. Triple net leases, office buildings, industrial warehouses, land leases, strip malls or shopping malls, which is retail, oil and gas, farm and ranch, raw land, subdivision, development, hospitals, resorts, hotels, mixed-use development, manufacturing, special purpose. Yeah, so there's a lot. There's a lot of property types. There's a lot of investment types. But what you got to do is you got to do research. You got to do research. And you got to, if you're going to go this on your own, you got to do research. But even then, before you would hire someone like me, you would still need to do your research because you need to rule out what you know you don't want. And by me reading that list, I guarantee you've already ruled out a lot of those. You've already ruled out a lot of those, okay? And the book will be ready for publishing. We're going to publish on or before June 27th, 2026. So you can buy this if you'd be so kind and if you would like to. That would be awesome. And the list is in there. It's in this section. When I introduced the elephant, the book is called Becoming an Elephant. Be a rental property millionaire. Be a millionaire with only 4 rental properties, and an elephant is a millionaire. So, buy box criteria. Once you discern what you know you don't want, then you can start layering in what you do. So when we have a client that is saying, "Hey, we've hired you. What should we buy in this market?" Then we help them buy the buy box. We help them build their buy box criteria, and the buy box criteria has some components in it. Number 1, it's going to have, yes, the property type. So usually this is what we like to say is the vanilla 101, 102, 103 rental property investing buy box criteria. So single family home. We want, by the way, we want it to be brick, preferably not siding. It can have some siding, but the majority brick preferably because it's going to last longer and you're going to have to paint siding after a decade. We want 20 years or newer. So it's 2026. So that would be 2006 or newer, but we prefer brand new. And in some markets, you can get that. You can absolutely get that. Price point, we want it to be 400,000 or less. Usually a 350, 375 is the sweet spot. We want it to have a sixth of an acre, roughly. A sixth of an acre is about 7,000 square feet of land. An acre is 43,560 square feet. So we learned that in real estate school. 4 women driving down I-35 going 60 miles an hour. And then you divide that number by 6. It's about 7,000. Now, it could be a little bigger. Like, yeah, if you got a quarter of an acre, that's a fourth of an acre. That'd be great. But any bigger than that, you see, the tenant doesn't want that. Homeowners want it, usually. Tenants don't, because they're not going to maintain it. So it's different. You got to shift your mind a little bit. So that's the sweet spot. 6-7 acres, pretty good for our market. And then you're going to have the schools. We want good schools. We prefer great schools, but it's hard to find great schools. So we want good schools, but we don't want bad schools. So schools is like the number one thing that's very, very important. And then we want, sorry, I don't know why I'm having a hard time remembering this. I talk about it every day. It's the next thing, bed and bath count. There we go. I was thinking about square footage. So square footage, we want around 1,800 square feet. So 1,500 is okay. That's pretty tight. But if it's a 1,500 square foot 3-bedroom, no. I mean, it's okay, but 1,500 4-bedroom, not okay. It's too tight. So 1,500 on the very low end to 2,300, maybe 24 at the very most, but 1,800 is a good number. A little bit less, a little bit over. So 16 to 19 would be great. You know, somewhere in there is good. At least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms. 4 bedrooms is fine. 5 bedrooms, usually too many. 6 bedrooms is weird. 2 bathrooms minimum. 3 bathrooms better. 4 bathrooms, yes, even better. People want more bathrooms, most people. Bathrooms usually bring in better yield than bedrooms, but that's important. But some combination of that, but minimum 3-2, as much as a 4-3. And then you want a 2-car attached garage would be ideal. Okay. 2-car attached garage. And then you want a privacy fence. That's a wood privacy fence. Usually it's like a wood is usually 6 feet tall. If you have 8 feet, great. But if there's a chain link fence or no fence, you just want to make sure you can put in a privacy fence. See, safety is very important, not only for tenants, but also for resale. And that's just a key. Everyone wants to feel safe where they live. Everyone. Where anyone you want living in your house, you want them to have that as a value. Okay. If they don't have that as a value, that's not a good thing. So, but the thing is, and then area is important. So usually a lot of times our clients, our buyers, investor buyers come to us already kind of knowing the area because they've already done a bunch of research, usually online or watched things like this or podcasts or read books. But if they haven't done any of that and and they have no idea about the area, but sometimes that happens too. Sometimes a lot of times they're referred with value from other clients we've closed and they're just in their network and they don't do a lot of research because their friends already did the research and then the friends have already done it and then they know the friend and they kind of know they want to do this anyway. So then it kind of is like that. That happens a lot, but it just depends on who you are and how you research things. But the location, if you have no idea, like if you're like, I'm good with anywhere in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. Well, Dallas Fort Worth, I mean, my God, that's North Texas. North Texas is like 16 counties. It's 9,000 square miles and it's over 100 cities. That's too much. That's too much. You're never going to make a decision. So when we have clients with that kind of broad mind, we'll put it back on them and say, you're not ready. You need to do more research on your area. You are in the discovery stage. Okay. You're not ready. You're not in acquisitions. You're not ready in acquisitions because that tells me you're in the discovery stage. If you're that broad and you're not able to narrow that down, or if you're coachable and we can tell you that's too much, these 4 cities could work based on your budget, okay, goals, and then what your goals are with your rental property investment. these are the 4 cities, 3 cities, whatever that we find can work. Are you good with that? And if they're good and they can pivot, then we're good. If they're not, then they got to go back to the drawing board, and we put it back on them to go do more research because they're a discovery. So this one was a little long, but I hope it helped. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and look for the book to come out. Thanks for listening. Bye.